فيا أيها القاري به متمسكا مجلا له في كل حال مبجلا. بسم الله، الحمد لله، الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Great to have you with us in this Tajweed podcast in the series of Makharij videos. My name is Khalid Abu Shafi' and I will be your host in this episode. And today we are going to taking to look at the new makhraj of the makharij is noon. The letter noon is slightly underneath the makhraj of the lam. So the makhraj of the noon, it is articulated from the tip of the tongue while touching the gums of the top incisors. So it is not taking the sides of the makhraj of the tongue, the sides of the tongue as the lam, but it takes the tip of the tongue. So in this makhraj of noon, we realize a little bit of different than the makhraj of the lam, as we can see that in this area what is the tip of the tongue, and we have mentioned that makhraj al-lam uses the sides of the tongue and the air escapes from the sides, right and left side. But here when the air comes in, the sounds stops at when the tip hits the top of the incisors behind the incisors, the top incisors, it stops the sounds there. Then the air escapes from the nostrils and the nose. So the air flows and comes through the oral cavity and moves forward. The tip of the tongue hits the behind the incisors here, and when it hits, the air of course escapes from the nostrils, and that ghunna is formed and is sounded from the nostrils and the nose. So these are some examples of noon sakina in the rules of qalb, for example. So we have mentioned in a podcast, in the MP3 podcast, you can have a look at and revise them, the rules of noon sakina and tanween. So every time the noon sakina or tanween followed by one of the 28 letters of Arabic language, and among them is the ba. So if a noon sakina followed by letter ba, as we can see here, the noon sakina, it doesn't have, as you can see, any symbol of sukoon there, but it is noon sakina, and followed by the ba, it changes and symbolized or substituted by the meme. So it becomes layum badanna. So that noon, it doesn't disappear, but actually it moves and it becomes like the meme, layun badanna. So that noon, as you can see, instead of saying layun and put your tip of the tongue into behind the incisors, it becomes transformed into a meme into your lips. So layun badanna. Similarly also min ba'di and hillum bihadha al-balad. These are the rules of noon sakina and tanween. If it's followed by other letters of Arabic language, of course it takes another ruling. I have mentioned also in the rules of noon sakina and tanween that this idgham in if it's followed, noon sakina followed by yarmalun, ya, ra, mim, lam, or waw, or noon, then it is divided into two parts. One part, it's called the complete idgham, which is the insertion, complete insertion of the noon followed by one of the these letters, ra, or lam, or noon, or mim. And when it is followed only by the two letters, the noon sakina completely disappears, as well as its quality of the ghunna. So as you can see, if we say, for example, min rabbik becomes mir rabbik, the noon disappears completely. But for the noon and the mim, yes, it disappears, the noon sakina, but because there is another noon and meme, if it's joined with another noon and meme. So if we say, for example, min nabiyyin, min naba'in, so you say min nabiyyin, mimma. So the insertion will be there, the idgham will be there, and it's called also complete idgham because of the insertion in the next letter and the disappearance of the previous noon, but the other noon and the other meme has also a ghunna, then it is mentioned as idgham, complete idgham. So the ghunna exists on the second letter, not on the first one. But on the lam and ra, the ghunna disappears completely because noon in front of the ra, noon in front of the lam, it does not have any ghunna at all. It's called idgham without the ghunna. So go to the podcast and revise what I have mentioned in the previous lessons. For the ya and the waw, it's called incomplete because partially one of the ghunna part is there plus the ya. So you say man ya'mal min wal. So a part of the ghunna is halfway between the noon sakina and also in between, inserted into the ya or inserted into the al-waw. So in here we see the example of the ra. For example, this noon it becomes as silent. It doesn't have any sound. Similarly with this one as well. So instead of saying min rabbik, you can see the symbol of shadda there. And there's a symbol of shadda also here. So you say min rabbik, min ladun. So the noon becomes a silent. And the reason why the ra and the lam are closely, the makhraj close to the noon. We mentioned these makhraj of the lam, makhraj of the noon, and makhraj of the ra, they are close to each other. And because of that closeness and taqarub, the noon sakina or tanween, soon as it comes next to the ra or next to the lam, the noon becomes, or the tanween becomes silent. Such as if you say, for example, the adhan, you would say ashhadu anna la. You don't say ashhadu anna la, you say ashhadu alla, alla ilaha illallah. Similarly, if you say ashhadu anna muhammadan, you don't say Muhammadan with the noon at the end. You say Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. And this example with the mim and the noon, mimma min nabiyyin, it's inserted, but because of the existing of this mim and the noon, the quality of the ghunna always remains at least into the last stage of the degree of the ghunna, which I'm going to talk in the next slide about the noon and the mim ghunna quality. I have also mentioned in the MP3 podcast that in the rules of noon sakina and tanween, whenever the noon sakina followed by one of the 15 letters, صف ذا ثنا كم جاد شخص قد سما دم طيبا زد في تقى ضع ظالما, as Imam al-Jamzuri mentions in his poetry lyric poem, that ta or tha or jim, any of them, you need to bring that, let that noon sakina close to the makhraj. Say for example I wanted to sound the jim and say for example man jaa bil hasanati. So you would say manj. As you can see, the tongue is going into the roof of the mouth, the middle part of the tongue is going to the roof of the mouth, and say manj, manj, man jaa. So it's not going to man, you put your tongue. So that's why it's called ikhfa, is to hide the tip of the tongue, to hide that slightly the sound of the real noon apparent, to make it slightly hidden by making that ghunna and bring that part of the tongue close into its makhraj. So if I'm going to sound sin, then I should bring, say, I would say, for example, sheen, min sharri, minsh, close to the sheen. If it's zay, close to the zay. I bring the part of the tongue, close that makhraj, make the ghunna and pronounce it. But I should not put the tip of the tongue into its real makhraj, what I have pointed at the beginning, the points of articulation. So in this slide, we have seen these are the letters of Izhar. As I also mentioned again, to go back to the podcast if you haven't heard the podcasts, the Hamza and the Ha and the Ain, Ha, Ghain and Kha, Akhi Haka Ilman Hazahu, Ghayru Khasiri. These are the letters of Izhar. So every time the Noon Sakina precedes one of the 6 letters, has to be pronounced normally, without any hiding, without bringing the tip of the tongue down, just normally as I mentioned at the beginning. So you would say, for example, صراط الذين أنعى, normal. أنعمت. But of course, the ghunna, as I mentioned, it doesn't exist, but exists into the least of the ghunna, which is at least have to be a sound of the ghunna, a mechanism, the second part mechanism, which comes from the nostrils. There is one part is the movement of the tongue into the teeth behind the incisors at the gums and the root. Then the second part is the nostrils. So you would say an'amta, same as the mim. Mim, of course, is like the noon, has the ghunna always. But the degree and the rank and the stage of the ghunna is different from case to case. So these are the stages of the duration of the ghunna. The stages are the highest, the most complete, as you can say, akmal. Then you would say that any noon sakina or mim sakina as well has a shadda, such as الناس ولا جان. Nun with the shadda, mim with the shadda, this is the highest ghunna it could be, which is 2 counts. As you say, ba, like al-alif, mad bil-alif, mad bil-waw, mad bil-ya is 2 counts. Fatha, damma, kasra, short vowel is 1 count. So nun with the shadda and mim with the shadda, the ghunna is durated and timed, measured by 2 counts. That is the highest. And when I say, and the ulama mentioned also in the idgham with the ghunna such as ya and waw, then would be the ghunna also at its complete. So which means I don't say that the first one would be 2 counts and the next one will be 1.5 and the next one would be 1. It's not like that. But mainly whenever it is mushaddad, you have to give that emphasis of the shadda. Whenever it is idgham, you give the emphasis of the idgham and give it its time, same as the ikhfa. So I would say that the 3 parts which are mentioned, for example, part number 1, part number 2 and part number 3, they would be slightly similar. The only thing with the shadda has to be more emphasis by giving time with the ghunna. Otherwise it will be all 2 counts, 3 of them. The last one is the least. Some scholars and some ulama say sukoon and short vowels are the same, but of course with sukoon it will be more visible, so more audible. So I would say this is 4, and the 4 would be in 5 here. I think this is my mistake in making this slide. It's so the highest, the sukoon is slightly higher than a short vowel, but some scholars, as I mentioned, they make this is all 1 and this is 2, or 1, 2 and this is 3. So this is according to the sheikh who you're listening to and the qari, the way how he listens to you and the way how he judges the way you read. That's the way how he takes the evaluation and the testing of your reading. So let me recap what I have said, that the noon sakina, whenever the flowing of the air goes this way, then the tip of the tongue hits behind the incisors. The air does not find where to escape. Of course, it escapes from the nostrils and makes that sound of the ghunna. And this is the mechanism, which is first part of the noon. Has to be the part of the tongue has to hit the roof of the mouth, which is just behind the incisors, the tip of the tongue. Then the second part of the mechanism have to be the sound produced by the nostrils. جزاكم الله خيرا for listening. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. هنيئا مريئا والداك عليهما ملابس أنوار من التاج والحلى